Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Young Boy Ranching. Today we're going to be doing some chores and doing some talking about the basics of what you need to get some cows. Let's do it. Alright guys, so the chore we have today is there's this compost pile here and it's been composting, it's doing real well. But it's kind of getting spread out like this. I want to push everything back up so it kind of goes faster is my thought process. So we're just going to do that while I talk about the basics of what you need to get cows. Alright guys, so obviously the big things that you need to get cows is land, water, food, and shelter. Those four things are the main four things you need to get calves or some sort of livestock. And so the first thing I'm gonna talk about is land. Alright guys, so for land, this can be anything. This can be half an acre to 100 acres. For me, I live outside College Station, Texas, so for me we have a 2-acre property and we have half of it for, you know, our house and stuff, and the other half is just an open area pasture back here. So I have 1 acre of fenced in land that is not being used. So I want to own my own ranch someday, so I thought, okay, well, I can get into this now. I can learn about what needs to be done now. So sorry, we have 1 acre. Now there is plenty of grass, as you can see. We only have 2 calves. Now if you're wanting to get somewhere 10 calves, I would say you probably need to support 1 calf probably somewhere in between 1 to 3 acres per calf, depending how big they are. So we have 2 calves and this is 1 acre. Now the calves are not used to us yet, but once they are, they will be out here every day munching down on this grass, and this grass will go bye-bye fast. So we are feeding them grain. I will get to that in a minute, but kind of getting ahead of myself here. So you need about 1 to 3 acres per calf based on the calf size. And this is assuming that it's already fenced in. You don't have to do anything with fencing. You have 1 good acre that's fenced in with strong fences. Alright, so now we're going to talk about water. Now water obviously is what every living thing needs to survive. Water is mandatory if you want a living thing to survive, so you have to have some. What I have for my 2 245-pound calves about is I have a 40-gallon water trough with a float valve on it, so anytime there's a little float on it and there's a hose always attached, so it can refill at any time. If that float starts to go down and it's no longer floating above the water, it will start to fill, and it automatically fills and it keeps it nice and fill all the time. But right now, since the calves don't trust us yet and don't really know that the water's there, we had these 5-gallon buckets out here. See, just blue 5-gallon buckets that we are using to water them, to give them water. So I just keep filling them up every morning and every afternoon in the evening, and well, that's what we have right now. Of course, they will eventually get used to it, and they will find out that that 40-gallon water trough is there. And then we'll start using that, and then we'll take the 5-gallon buckets out, and then it'll be a whole lot easier. So, calves drink a lot of water. Cows drink a lot of water in general. So, you need a lot of water. I probably refill those 5-gallon buckets, I don't know, 3 times a day. Once in the morning, once in the middle of the day, and once at night. So they probably drink 40 gallons of water a day is combined. So you need to have enough water to support your cows. And so if you want to have 10 cows, or calves I should say, but you only have a 10-gallon water trough, you might want to consider getting a bigger trough to support those 10 calves or cows. Okay, next we'll talk about food. So food, the second all-important thing behind water. You can survive about 2 weeks. A human can survive about 2 weeks without food, but only about 5 days without water. So you say it's, roughly the same thing, same amount of time comparison for a cow, They probably have a little bit more body fat, so they can probably survive longer without food, but close to the same amount of time without water, if not sooner. So water is number one, food is number two. We're not talking about water, we already covered that. Food. Like I said, we only have 1 acre out here, but 2 cows. And I said you need about 1 to 3 acres per calf. I'm sorry, I keep calling them cows, I mean calves. If I say cow, I mean calf. So that really means we should have 2 acres out here, but we don't. I don't have the opportunity to have 2 acres. I have 1 acre and I have to make do with what I have. So in addition to the calves eating all this grass out here, I give them a feed supplement. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos, then you should go check them out and you can get more details on that feed supplement. I have a whole video where I just feed cows for like 16 minutes. It's really educational, it's really good. Y'all should go check it out. But roughly, I'm just gonna say what you need, not what I have. If you don't have enough grass or acreage to support your cows only on grass, then you're going to have to buy a feed supplement. It's plain and simple like that. Or else your calves will most likely not gain much weight. They'll probably lose weight and eventually starve if you don't get them food fast enough. So I went to my local feed producer where everybody goes for feed. So it's called Producers Cooperative Association, and they make all types of feed, from chicken feed to rabbit feed. They have everything. So I went there and I bought what they call their calf choice. It's 18% protein with minerals and other stuff in it and other grains that will help the calves grow. I recommend, if they're fresh weaned calves, they still don't have that much weight on them, you need some high protein stuff like 16 or 18% protein like I have. And if you just ask whoever works where you're getting your feed, they should be able to talk to you about what you need. Okay, we're gonna talk about shelter now. So shelter is obviously also important. It's not as important as food or water, because those are the two big things. But it is still very important to your calf survival. If I had my calves out here in the 100-degree sun, out here in the middle of summer in Texas, with no shade, no nothing, they would most likely die of heat stroke or dehydration. But they have all these trails back here in these trees that you, if you haven't seen my video, you should go check them out. It goes in depth on those trails in there and how the cover looks and all that. And they can easily go in these trees and sit there in the nice shaded grass and ground when it's 105 degrees in the sun. Which, yes, it is that hot right now in Texas. I keep checking the weather every morning to see if it's gonna go down, but no, it's supposed to be 105 Sunday. It is currently Thursday, and the high today is 100. So shelter is needed. And if you don't have trees like this and you don't have natural shade, then you need to build some sort of shed, whether it's a two-sided shed with a roof or a whole enclosed area with a small door they can walk through. You need some sort of something where they can get out of the elements, which could be rain, snow, heat, like it is now. They need some place to go to be safe from the elements. Now, these trees will do me for now, but I plan to put a shelter, a two-sided shed right here in front of this area here. We'll have a whole side open here and a whole side open in the back leading into the trees here. And we'll have a side over here, a side here, and a roof up on the top. And that's what I plan to build for my calves. Right now they don't need that because it's not supposed to rain or it's not supposed to snow or anything. So right now they are fine just hiding in the trees. But I will build that so they have someplace dry to go when it rains. Now, food, water, land, and shelter was the only 4 things I was planning on talking about. But when I was talking about those, I mentioned fencing. And I thought fencing might be, you know, a little obvious. But, you know, some people might not know what kind of fence they need. Now, I will go over to the fence in a second and show you. But you need at least a 4-foot, 5-foot high fence so they can't jump over it with ease. And if they do jump over it, you need to make sure you can get them back easily. Whether that's with a gate or some area partition in the fence that you can slip them through. Now I'll go show you the fence we have now on all 4 sides that we have set up, and that will work for us. So it's not barbed wire, but this is the fence to the neighbor's property. They have about the same amount as us. We ran a top wire on it, this top wire here, so this top wire is very sturdy. And then we have this sort of mesh fence that we could string like this and it could become one fence like that, and we've done that on all the other 3 fences. But this fence, we're not too worried about them getting through. One, because we can easily get them back from this property here because there's a gate right over there. And 2, they don't really come over here much. So this is this fence. We just have some T-posts and some regular wooden posts. And now I'll head over here real quick. to show you the fence that divides our house area from the back pasture here. And see, that's the gate over there I was talking about. And see, we pretty much have the same exact design fence, except we have this top wire and we have some baling wire here. We doubled the baling wire up and wrapped it around this fence, so now this fence is one, and they cannot push this fence down and get through under this. You see, here's a better wrap. You see here, that fence is one. They pull on this, that top wire helps support it. They pull on the top wire, this wire here supports it. And also, this is the water trough we have here. And see, that float valve is currently not supposed to be doing that. I have to fix that in a sec. Actually, let me go get that real quick. Okay, that was definitely not planned, but it gives me an opportunity to show you the float valve. It's just a garden hose that I bought at Tractor Supply for $30 with this float valve here, and it has a float on the inside of there, and if it floats up, it cuts the valve off in here and no more water can get out of it. But if it goes below the valve in here, the valve will kick on and water will go into the trough. We also have a shade here, which I do recommend if your water will be in the sun. I recommend you have some sort of shade so it stays nice and cool and it's not 100 degrees when you're trying to water the cows, because that is not good. Because if the water is nice and hot, they won't like it. It'll be too hot for them. They won't drink the water, and then you have dehydrated cows, and that's no goodness. That's not good at all, because then you're going to have cows who die because of dehydration. So I showed you this fence. Now I'll go walk over there to that fence on that other neighbor's side. But first, while I'm walking through this stuff here, this is Bermuda grass, and there's a ton of this stuff. There's seed heads all over it. This is great for the cows. We have a lot of this out here with other mixtures of tall grasses. I just wanted to show y'all that. And so you see, it's the same fence over here, same wire, but we have zip ties holding it together because we did this before we decided we're going to get cows. So this was just to keep deer and stuff out. And it's just the same fence all the way around. It's the same method on that back fence, so I'm not going to show you all that, but it's just the same method with the top wire, and you attach it to this fence, and that's it. And so that's what you need. You need all the way around good fences that you have checked time and time again. You've triple checked it. You know there's no holes they could possibly get through, or no points in the fence that are weak enough they could exploit it and bend it out so they can get through the fence. That is the type of quality fence you want. Now, barbed wire is also a good fence, but we didn't have barbed wire. We had this stuff here, and we didn't want to tear up the entire fence and do it again, because that's a whole bunch more expense that I am not willing to pay when we have a perfectly good fence already in place. Okay, let's go to the outro. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please check out some of my other videos that go a little bit more into depth about some of this other stuff we have here, about the water and my feed. If you're wondering what kind of feed I feed, I have a whole entire video where I just feed my cows and build their trust. So I think that's a great video for you to check out if you're wondering what to feed. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.